Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being part of the audience, having the fun. So my name is Gregg, Dr. G. The reason I'm called Dr. G is because some people call me Gret, which is a ghost in Cantonese. So I said, look, just call me Dr. G. Keep it simple. So I thought talk about some of a journey of mentoring. So I'll share with you some things I've gone through myself. I'll talk about things we're doing through OASA as an instance to help you become a mentor. And I'd like to share some of the things from you as well, get your ideas talking. So this is getting most out of your mentoring relationship with your angels, okay? This is my talk. If you're in the wrong room, come back. You can leave, okay? So these are some of the things I'm going to address. Some burning questions in your mind, hopefully. If you have more, let me know. First is where to find good mentors. It's not easy to find. They're fairly busy. But the good mentors are worth the goal, worth their weight in gold. Second, how do you build strong bonds and relationship when you have to actually find them? How do you create that long-lasting relationship? Third, why should anybody invest the time in you? Okay, it's a critical question because many of you are starting out. How can you get the right angels and investors to put in the time and money? Fourth, now everything comes to an end, even relationship. So when it does end, what do? Okay, how do you close a relationship? Now, interestingly, in my mentoring experience, I have actually several mentees that sometimes they disappeared. You have no idea where they went. You ask, how are they? They don't respond. That's kind of strange, interesting as well. Then I'm going to share with you some journey. I'd like to encourage you to keep some of your journey. Now, each of us have our own journey of serendipity. So when you run into something, how do you take advantage of that? I'll share some of to tease your ideas out. And I'd like to give you some of mine as well. Okay? So that's the plan for today. Good? Before this thing keeps on falling off. Okay. Now, some agenda. Now, I have to follow flow. Okay? I'm going to talk about how do you find that angel that you want? How do you map the relationship? Analyze the bonding, redesign and engage when things aren't working. Any relationships need to be continually mentored, okay? There's a certain amount of dance, what we call. So those of you who don't do dance anymore, in my days, okay, we used to do dancing with a couple. So when you push forward, the person's supposed to go backwards automatically. Somehow the feel is there. Today it's kind of, I don't know what you do in dancing. Maybe you don't do dancing anymore. Okay. Now, next is nurturing the relationship. How do you encourage the nurturing in such a way that it becomes even more fruitful? It's actually win-win for both. I'm going to do some discussion, summary, about 30 minutes into discussion. Okay. So first, a little bit of myself. I assume that you haven't read my bio. So without reading that, basically, you're looking at a person who's done 50 years of work. I have many mentors. I have many mentees. Some of the things I'm doing is actually working with my friend here, Perry, to create an organization, a startup academy for young people, using space as a context. So, first question, something for you to think about. What is the difference between a consultant, a mentor, a coach, and an angel? It's very confusing, right? They all seem to be the same, and I've played all 4 roles, and sometimes very confusing as well. So, any takers? Come on, throw something at me. What's the difference? There's no right or wrong. Please.
Well, an angel invests. A mentor helps you in their own special way.
Mm-hmm.
A coach coaches you different than a mentor. And a consultant has a particular skill set for one thing. At least that's how I understand it.
Oh, pretty good. This gentleman up front. Is the mic coming?
Maybe focus on who paid the money.
Okay. Who pays the money?
Yeah. For consultants, we pay the money, and they give us some suggestions. Mentors, I don't know. For coach, or also we as a startup we pay the money, and maybe angel. they pay the money to the company.
Okay, that's pretty good. Using the pay concept, okay? So the consultants, like you say, you pay him some money. Mentor, maybe he pays you or you pay him, but basically no money involved. Coaches, I was a basketball coach. They didn't pay me any money. But for professional executive coach, you pay him good money. An angel, usually they pay you or they invest in you. But let me try to answer that, okay? Because I've been all four. It's not easy. Consultant is an expert that knows something, that can give you some answer, solution, or reframe your question and provides a context for you to resolve the question. A mentor is someone, let's say I'm in banking, and I have 30 years of banking experience, and you're a bankee, a trainee. Then I'm going to sort of tell you what my experience has been, and these are the things that you should be doing. A coach is someone says, I don't know, what do you want? You tell me what you want. And I reflect on what, maybe because you don't see yourself that well, I can reflect on the things that you can consider. An angel, that's probably all three encapsulated into one. But usually a business angel is someone who invests in you, pretty much in you. Not so much in your business, it's more in you. So you can see the overlaps, right? It's a lot of overlaps. It's not exact. And each person can do it differently. Finding and identifying, and I'm sure many of you want to find your angels. They're all around you, next to you. You just have to notice them when they're around. So this is one of my angels or mentors. His name is Professor Walter Vieira. I met him many years ago, 30 years ago. And he was teaching at Northwestern. So he teaches very close with Philip Kotler. You remember him, the 4 Ps, okay? So he was the global head for this consultant institute at the UN. He came around Hong Kong and I said, hey, Walter, what do you do? He said, well, I help countries set up their consultancy chapters. And I said, that'd be a good idea. Can we have one for Hong Kong? Can we have one for China? He said, Greg, if you want it, I'm going to help you do it. But you have to step out. Okay? You have to find the way yourself. And this is an interesting quote. When the student is ready, the teacher shall be present, not before. This is another interesting individual I met along the way. Many years ago, I was working at Cooper's and Lybrand, and the government gave us a call and said, look, Greg, we have a corporate governance problem. This is like 30 years ago. And I said, what's corporate governance? Went to the library. There's only 3 books. One written by this man. At that time, he was at Harvard. He's known as the father of modern corporate governance, Bob Tricker. Became very good friends, learned a lot from him, and he continued to reach out to me. I wonder why. Well, because maybe I asked funny questions. So a mentor is someone that you somehow become good friends with. That's interesting. This is another good one, Sir Derek Jones. I met him 25 years ago. And for those who don't know who he is, he's actually created a little Tanko Sha tin, gave us Hong Kong UST. He was actually the first Brit to walk into China to open the discussion for Margaret Thatcher. He's a fascinating gentleman. And one day he said, Greg, in order to do something, you're not going to get all the plans you need. You got to step into the river, create some ripples. He's written a book called Feeding the Stones, meaning as you cross, you really don't know where you're going, but you have to get your feet wet. So I learned that from him. He's created a number of organizations, Go Guy in Hong Kong, and also OASA is the last one. He passed away a few years ago, unfortunately. Mapping the relationship. How do you stand with your mentors? Okay? Now, if your mentors have a birthday, do you know? Good question. If it's your birthday, would they know? This is Professor Gordon Redding. He's the founder of Hong Kong Business School. So I went to visit him with another mentor of mine in the UK. He's a very famous professor in Chinese family businesses, well known. And he also writes a lot. When he speaks, he can actually make you cry. I mean, he's one of those enlightened speakers. So people like him, people like Michael Porter, people like Herman Miller, these are the really powerful individuals. Now, mentors comes in different forms. And when I say serendipity is you run into somebody you don't expect, and they put in one word, and that one word changed your life. So he's one of those, okay? Analyzing bonding. Now, mentoring comes and goes, and it's like, what is that? Contact cement, right? The more you stick, the more you do that, the stronger is the bond. So, cannot see his face exactly, but this is one of my more interesting, better mentors. His name is Charles Foley. This is taken in UK, a little town called Chester. Went to visit him, notice his mustache. He and I have had very difficult but good relationship. So we come together, break together, come together, break together. And after 30 years, we're still together. So, fantastic guy. Taught me a lot about consulting, solving problems in different ways. What do mentors, angels, and VCs like to invest in? Okay, coming back to the aim of this talk. This is from Space Capital, a VC that invests in space item. For I use what they say. They said, well, we like to invest in companies that have our sort of alignment. See, well, if we're not aligned, it's very difficult for me to talk to you. We like people who are diligent, hardworking, okay, intentional. We like certain synthesis. And this is how they rank in terms of if they invest in anything, they put 30% in the team. For them, 30% is very important. The team is most important. Financial, not as important. You can imagine when you're starting out, you don't really understand your financials, okay? Decisions should be unanimous, and more importantly, we like to invest in winners. Everybody in this room is a winner, but you have to convince yourself that you are. The trouble is, how do you get your mentors to see that you're a winner? How do they see the magic in you? How do they see the diamond in the rough? Now, this is my own selection, because now I'm a business angel. So these are my 5 things. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? On that end, that's when you start out. So 55% I'll focus on the founder. Founder comes to me and says, Greg, can you be my business angel? I said, well, what are you like? Where's your grit? What do you believe in? Do you have integrity? Do you really understand the market? Now, are you an experienced surfer? What does that mean? The market is an ocean. The wave is moving. Person who knows how to surf jumps on and sort of stay afloat because he can feel the movement in the water. That's very important. That's key. So later on, when the companies begin to go IPO, that falls to 15% because the person's, the influence less and less. The team gets stronger and stronger. The second thing I look at, when I ask, can I be your angel? I'll ask, well, how well do you understand your market? Many individuals, when they start up in the company, it's always my own invention, my best mousetrap, and I don't care about the market. This is something I invent. I lost a lot of money in that, believing in that. Technology before the market. Always look at the market. Then fit in the right technology. Third, customer franchise. Somehow when you have a great firm, the customer loves you. They help you. They encourage you. They give you good ideas. And that's where it comes in. And if you can't feel that in a relationship, maybe the startup isn't getting it perfectly. Next, look at the founding team. Okay, and eventually they have to be 25%. That is very important. The founder must be able to bring in complementary skills, sometimes antagonistic, but has to be able to work with the team. Lastly, the business model. Okay, that's going to evolve. No, there's no perfect business model initially. It's going to evolve. So, how do we start? How do you restart something? Many of you are in this room, or those in Zoom, are looking at ways. So how do you restart? Let's say I have a relationship with a mentor. A way to restart is become a mentee yourself, or help out being actually a mentor. Get some mentee, be a mentor. Because they're younger people, right? There are always people younger than you, I would assume. And they look forward to you as a big brother, big sister, for you to help them. Now, to my right, This is Thomas Wong, one of my mentees. I've known him for, close to 8 years. He's a fascinating individual. His integrity, he's always creative. He walks 7 steps and there's a new idea. So he loves creating something about a learning engine. So I said, Thomas, why don't you tell me what exactly you want to do? And then maybe I can seed you with some angel money. Next to him is a girl named Mickey. She left recently, went to Canada, emigrated for whatever reason, she would know. And I asked her, if you need to emigrate for the right reason. Understand the world is not what you see it is. Understand deeper. When you get there, you find a new world, but have an open mind. So she's doing well in Canada. Now this is what Thomas wants to do. He wants to create a company that eventually becomes a B Corp. Okay. For those of you who don't know what a B Corp is, look it up. It's a fantastic way of giving money back, something back to society. There are other things that you can do, as mentioned before, because you want to become a mentor yourself, so you need to mentee someone. So recently, Perrin and I, sitting right here, says, why don't we create something for young people? And through our Orion Astronaut Space Academy, OASA, we created something called special action groups. Okay, what are those? We use the word special action groups because special interest group just doesn't really get it. Right? In order to find the right entrepreneur, that person got to step up. If that person doesn't own the problem, that person doesn't need your help yet. So we have to find someone who's going to step up. But a problem to be solved got to be big enough. Okay, so let's redefine, clarify a complex issue. Anything that you want to solve, where's the pain point, right? We come back to where's the pain point. Be very articulate on the pain point, we'll find a way. Should be around climate change, because space provides you something that nothing else can. Because of satellites, it provides a very good picture of what climate change is happening. It provides all the data that you need. Space can extend humanity, because in order to live in this new space, we have to work together. Can't be fighting one another anymore. Now, all this has to begin by training a young leader. So someone got to step up, and that person stepping up has to be what we call system leader. What's a systems leader? The term is actually coined by Stanford a few years back. So I met Ambassador, what's his name? Brigadier something, his name I forgot. He's the dean at George Washington U. And the Elliott School, they train a few thousand diplomats around the world. Okay, that's what they do. So we had dinner one day, and he said, you know, Greg, a lot of problems we can solve today, but we don't, because we don't seem to understand the other side. If people can understand the other side, appreciate the problem from a broader context, maybe potentially we can solve it. So that's where systems leader come from, to understand the bigger picture, as in space, right? And we said, all right, if there is such a person, we're happy to find a global mentor, someone who's worked overseas, been to school, done something different, and can actually mentor you in the process. And we'll teach you some skills that can actually be functional in different contexts, like in Canada, okay, for example. Then you're going to start a journey, and you're going to pass it on. So this is something that we actually created within OASA. It's called the SAG. Now, what is a dance? I was saying before, many years ago, for people at my age, we used to do tango and foxtrot and waltz and all that. I don't know what you do today, but in order to do that dance, you have to hold hands, right, sort of. And when you move the left knee, they're supposed to go back automatically. And somehow when she sees you going up against someone in the back, she pulls you, right? That is a dance. So it's about giving and taking. This is a firm that's one of my mentee firms. His name is AJ Mack, brilliant guy from Carnegie Mellon. This company does predictive analytics. Okay, so for example, I think Google has a predictive analytics. So they sort of estimate the forecast of certain product before it goes up. And they use AI to do that. Okay? They look at the Facebook, look at different things, and sort of compile algorithm. Very powerful. But as you know, a few years back, what happened? COVID, right? People don't visit stores anymore. So he was going, uh-oh, we're dead. Now that means a shift. So we said, okay, let's shift. Let's shift this way, pivot, and look for a new industry, which he did. And he focused on the financial industry. And continually, he's making wave. So this wasn't easy, but it's about dancing with. Because AJ is a very brilliant guy. He's a team of 15. He was able to consider the market and look at a new market. Now that's dancing with the individual. So let's come back a little bit, do a little review. Are you or your new startup worth investing by an angel? You have to ask you that question. Is your angel going to invest the time in you? Because what he's spending, the time and effort. Is the market, where is your market mindset? Okay, how well do you understand the market? Do you really listen? As an entrepreneur, you find that you're actually the 100% problem solver. You solve all sorts of problems. It's constantly. And if you don't like problem solving, don't become an entrepreneur. You have to have grit. Now that's a tough word. What is grit? Grit is never giving up. Grit is getting slapped in the face and still go on. Grit is failing and then picking yourself up again. That's grit. You have to have a history, a habits of something that you can do. Do you give up easily? As we were saying before, customers have to love you in a different way. If they come back and love you, they recommend customer to you. That's what we mean by customer loving you. Control. Now you find that most entrepreneurs are control freaks. They love control. And eventually they have to let go. Because you don't control the company, you don't control destiny, you don't control your product. Eventually, most companies will die, right? So you have to know when to let go. Are you ready to dance? Nurturing the relationship. Okay, how do you nurture the relationship in such a way that the engagement becomes more fruitful and deeper relationship? This is two mentees, fairly young one now, still my mentees. They're about 17, 18, okay. Justin, very creative. He only had a summer, a few weeks, and he has all these great ideas. Pum, 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 pum. Being young, it's a gift. They have a lot of great ideas, but they have no clue what you're doing. But for them, hey, what do I care? These are my ideas. It should work, it should work, it should work. And we need to massage his idea into something for a company would work. So it took a little time, but he's a great, brilliant individual. He's now at UBC, and what he wants to do is actually become a space arbitrator. In the future, in space, since we don't have too many laws, you're going to have to arbitrate. So he sees it as an opportunity for himself. Justin, AJ, scores examples of my version. Sorry, I was looking at this. Of a young Marco Polo. So many of you may remember Marco Polo, that very interesting individual that came from somewhere in Europe, right? Stopped by China, had a fantastic journey, wrote some books, and he enjoyed experience. Now imagine if you were young, and you again, young Marco Polo, but you go backwards. So the big belt, the great beltway, just go back the other way, and you're the young Marco Polo. But what you need is mentors along the way, right? If only you can find the mentors along the way. So Perry and some of us says, why don't we create a new program called the Young Marco Polo program, and which we did. So this is the Young Marco Polo program, and just to touch on a little bit. 1 process, 3 stages, 7 elements. Where did I get that crazy idea? That crazy idea came to me from a brilliant man from Shell. Okay, so this Adam, his name is Adam, is a physicist, and he's asked by many countries to solve difficult, complex problems. So many years back, before they were Occupy Central, I learned of this interesting man. I said, "Oh, why don't you come to Hong Kong? We'll have a chat." And he showed me some process that you can actually do to put different groups with different ideas together in a room without killing each other. Amazing. All these tools that we could have had. He also showed me something that was powerful because the idea, he got this idea from MIT lab. Okay, so if you go up to Google, MIT lab, Social Innovation Lab, all the kung fu is there, how to do this. Now the Yamako Polo program, use that as a framework, involve 5 groups. First group is a university. Okay, so what does that mean? At a university, we're going to create a chapter. In the chapter, we'll create some programs. The programs are corporates who wanted to change the world, or SMEs who has a problem to solve. I said, I don't know how to solve the problem. I don't even know how to frame the problem. So can some young people help me see a different world? Okay, so the corporate, some young people, go on the process of acceleration. Okay? This is the entrepreneurship. We also have global mentors. Again, that's very important. People have seen the world differently. It's going to mentor them, help them see, again, how the world actually can work. Now, what is the deliverable, the aim of this program? As we were saying before, many of us want to become mentors ourselves, but we don't have that opportunity. So here's an opportunity. You can actually join this group. So the first thing we did, now many of you have heard about CubeSats, right? CubeSats, 10 by 10 by 10. It's a little satellites. It's actually created about, 10 years ago? Okay, been very powerful. Now in my search to learn about space, I came across the fact that we don't have any CubeSat program in Hong Kong. Okay, so I started to search. And I found out places like Philippines, Korea, Cambodia, even Nepal has a CubeSat program to train high school people how to build CubeSats, but not Hong Kong. Right? There's a reason for it, because we don't have a military. So therefore, but that being what it says, I'm sure we can actually have a CubeSat program. So about 2 years ago, we started with Hong Kong U, and we created one. So there's another CubeSat program for Hong Kong youth. So the point about this is there must be a challenge for people to come together and solve a problem worth solving. So the problem you need to solve is you have to articulate it, not us. Someone got to articulate it, and we have to find a team together to solve a problem to get to some solution. This is what we often call a wicked problem, which is very difficult to solve. Lastly, relationship is strengthened through challenges, coming together, also celebration. You have to learn to celebrate. So the question is, when's the last time you celebrated with your mentors or your angels? When's the last time you gave them a call? Or did the person call you? Okay? If you haven't done it, pick up the phone, get an email out. I'm sure they would love to hear from you. A brief summary, and then we'll go to a little discussion. Okay? Like I was saying before, in the beginning, I said, this is very much my journey of serendipity, and you would have your own journey. The idea is, if you come to someone that you know, ask, see there's a certain relationship you can build. It can be 5 minutes, like what I've done with Michael Porter. It could be a lifetime, what we've done with Sir David Acker-Jones. If the chemistry is there, you can actually learn a lot from one another. But the key thing is you have to step into the river, meaning you have to do a project, do something together, and then you'll learn. Use a process map to highlight a journey, okay? Meaning this is a journey. You have to find somewhere to nurture that with special relationship between you and your mentor. Getting the best requires constant dialogue, constant elimination of assumptions. So I remember something that Charles Foley told me. He said, look, Greg, we have to be very explicit because I'm not from your culture. I'm from the British culture, and I've been working in Australia, and we're very frank. So if I don't like certain things, I have to tell you, and don't be offended, I'm just telling you, at least I'm telling you, versus I don't tell you, then I walk away. Then I said, Charles, that's a great way too, because now we have an understanding. This is how we're going to work. So you're going to have a clear dialogue and clear assumptions, because when we work with different people, different culture, you're bound to have that. Now, what is your journey of serendipity? Like I said before, I'm 65, spent 50 years working. I'm just having fun now, teaching, sitting on boards, investing in young companies. All right, let's have some discussions. And get me anywhere. What happened to the mic? Is the mic floating around somewhere? Okay, you have a mic. Thank you. So I'd like to focus on some of these. If you have other questions, please raise your hand. We'll pop around that. Where to find good mentors and angels? At Cyberport, there's a program. There's something like 80 mentors, right? You can actually sign up to that to look for a mentor. The mentors exist in university. So many of your professors are mentors. Where to find them? Your father's uncle? Many different individuals can potentially be your mentors. How to build a stronger bonding relationship? Stronger meaning you already have a relationship. How do you reach out? Part of the things I do is we work on something together. Something that interests them, interests me. Then we have a journey together. And I learn from them for as much as possible. Why should angels invest their time? You have to notice that at our age, what's the most important thing? Time. So that's the only thing that we have much. Okay, everything else is reasonable, but time is running out. So we need to spend quality time. You also have to end the time when certain things don't work out. And you have to agree to disagree and then be gentlemen about it. Where's my journey of serendipity? Or where's your journey? Okay. Shall we? Okay. This is my good friend Perry, who's going to do some questions from the audience. Please.
So we have some questions here, Dr. G, from those who are zooming in. The first one, Dr. G, do you think the relationship between mentor and mentee is less bonded after leaving school?
Is best what?
Less bonded after leaving school.
The assumption is the mentee is in school, and the mentor is someone they met in school. It could be a professor or guest speakers, right?
Correct.
I would think the first thing is time. You have to find an opportunity to come together. And there are many activities at school, many things that they do at the boards, many things you can get involved as an intern. You can bring it from there. I remember when I first joined American Express, this is years ago, they have a policy where they will assign a mentor to you. Interesting, a very senior individual. And they would have coffee with you because they want to learn how you see the world, how you see the gossip, the politics, and also learn from them as well. So the question around is, how do you, is it less, I guess you have to create the opportunity to engage. That will make it meaningful. Does it make sense?
All right, yes, thank you.
Okay.
All right, the next question for you, here's a good one. Dr. G, what do you think is the difference between what a male versus a female mentor can offer?
That's an interesting question. I remember years back, one of my mentors told me, Greg, learn not to generalize. So what does generalize mean? Male, female, is generalization. Chinese, non-Chinese, the generalization. So my mentor says, look at each person, each individual as a different being in his own ways. Okay, but having said that, men and women, they're very different, as you know. I find that women, I'm generalizing again, okay, are very perceptive, very see things differently that men sees it entirely in a different way. If I have several female mentors. One of them was the worldwide head of quality control at American Express. She was very demanding. She speaks 10 different languages. She comes to you, before you know it, you're doing 10 things you have to do every week. She's one of those. Bum, 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 bum. And I've learned a lot from her. But she's cut and cold in that sense. Maybe she's trying to be more like men. Again, I'm generalizing. So she's very demanding in the sense that she'll tell you no in your face. No, 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 yes. So sometimes people overcompensate. She's a very smart lady. We kept in touch for almost 50 years. Now I can remember that as my female mentor. Male mentor, they may have a drink with you, which is different, right? Females don't really like to have drinks with you in a different capacity. The male mentor may want to play golf with you. And you find that playing golf is actually a good way to understand the person. You play a round of golf with that individual, you know his character. What else? Sailing, okay. A male may take you to sailing, barbecue, different things of getting engaged. So again, I wouldn't generalize because I would try to treat each one as individuals.
Thank you. And here's a very good question for you. Which characteristics scare you away from being one's mentor? In other words, the mentee's characteristics. What would be some, let's say, red flags?
Red flags for me?
Yeah, to not.
The person is dishonest,
Okay.
or the person lies to himself, or as Lincoln would say, no one has a good enough memory to be a good enough liar. Eventually, they tell you something he forgets, and he's, oh, you didn't tell me that. Example. So that's a red flag for me. A person who's you can't really trust. It's like you're walking towards a pot of gold and he's stepping behind you. Instead, do I trust the individual who's going to hit me in the head? So trust is one. Second, I've mentored many different individuals. I found that the one that's worth my time are those that are really intelligent, kind-hearted, and actually have a acceptance to acknowledge that they don't know enough. If I have a mentee and they seem to tell you they know everything, then what do you need me for? And that would be the two red flags. A person who can listen and a person who doesn't lie.
Okay, thank you. The next question, more focus on OASA. Most students interested in space technology may have chosen to further their studies in the USA. How can Hong Kong retain the young talents interested in space tech or space engineering for the space economy of the future?
Good question. There's a lot of things happening in space. We're saying that in Hong Kong, because of where we are and our history, Hong Kong can only take advantage of the downstream of data because we're not shooting things up. This is not Hong Kong, okay? Maybe we can do that eventually, but not now. We can probably do that in China. So you can actually go into China. You can go to different places. Now, at the Laboratory of Space Research at Hong Kong U, we have a very strong program to help. We just have a master's program. It's a new one, Master in Space Law. A little history on that one. So 3 years back, Hong Kong U came to me because I'm an adjunct, teach to different universities. He said, Greg, can you work on this program with us? I said, what program is that? Master in Space Science. Okay, that's a very good program, timely for Hong Kong. Next question is, well, who's going to hire them after graduation? Cathay is not going to hire them. Good question. So I said, why don't we create something new? Space entrepreneurship, right? You create your own business. Why not? So we created a course in space entrepreneurship. I'm running it right now. So, sorry, I'm drifting with what is out of. What was your question again?
So it has to do with how can Hong Kong retain the young talents interested?
It's to first of all give them more opportunity, okay? Because space is not only about space technology, it's about space economy. There's a lot of things you can do. Space economy is what we call data without borders. The data moves. This is where the elements is. If you think in that perspective, then the data coming down to Hong Kong, there are trillions of bits of data coming down every day, okay? How do you monetize that? This is where we can come in. You can ask yourself, how good are we in terms of the piracy law? Not very good. What about data storage, data domicile? Who controls that? There's a lot of questions we haven't solved. We need to solve if we're going to control that and kids can stay in Hong Kong. But if we can't, then Hong Kong is a hub. We're a trading hub where data moves across borders. So how can that happen in the future?
Okay.
One more, then I'll go on.
Yes, the last question for the session.
For this bit?
Yes, is the following. Our company has tried mentoring programs, but they really haven't been successful. Do you have any recommendations on how we could actually start a formalized mentoring program in our organization and get people really qualified to be good mentors and good mentees?
Great question. It all depends on your organization. I can't give you a one-size-fits-all, and things don't work like that. I started many mentoring programs. Most of them fail. Why? Okay. Wrong expectations. Young kids coming in, oh, I'm going to be the CEO 5 years from now. That's not going to happen, right? But companies do, and they call themselves management trainee programs. So all the young kids come in, oh, it's a management trainee program. I have to get into one of those. Then they found out the world doesn't work like that. Each department they go to, the supervisor says, who are you? I've been here for 10 years. Take your turn. There's a lot of politics involved. But you have to think in terms of what we call, many people think the career as going up like this, as a ladder, right? You know, we often do at our age. But think in terms of a river. So what's a river? You go this way, and you go that way, right? And you go this way. And sometimes you go a little bit like this, and then eventually move on. So the key is when you keep the destination in mind, where you want to end up to, it doesn't matter how you get there. And that's been my journey. But if you want to go this way, guess what? It gets narrow at the top. And there's a lot of infighting. So I was actually asked to be a chairman of something, and I said no. Because what's the point? Getting there doesn't make me happy. So I think you have to think in a different perspective. Think of yourself as going down a river instead of going this way. Okay, so let me move on, and then we'll come back to some questions. How do I become an entrepreneur? Okay, it's appropriate for this kind of session. So some concluding remark. Now the new space economy, as I mentioned before, is data without boundaries. Has arrived. Why? Well, certain facts. One, it used to cost a lot of money to send things up there. $10,000 per kilogram. Now with SpaceX, $200. That completely disrupts the possibility of things going up, right? Two, data coming down. Someday, and very soon, we'll be relying on satellites to coordinate the millions of bits of information, the IoT, coordinate that. And guess what? Satellite is a key. Third, climate change. Why is it we're facing climate change today? Well, it's been happening, but why is that we're woken up now? Part of the reasons is that what we call common goods, we abuse common goods. You know, it's free, so we abuse it. But the satellites allow us to understand that what we're doing is actually hurting the Earth collectively. And by having the oversight view that satellite gives us, that changes the game. So these are some of the reasons, okay, why the space economy is already with us. So my point is, why do you want to spend your future there when well, of course, you're given a 7-Eleven to open a shop with, but it's more fun in space because it deals with data. Now, OASA recently, like we mentioned before, we had a Young Marco Polo program, and we're looking for mentors, okay, and mentees. So if you're interested to become a member, let us know. Become a mentee, let us know too. So this is going to be set up at Poly U, Hong Kong U, Chinese U, City U, Ningnan U. The idea is to create an OASA chapter, each of the university. If that's working, then we go to Greater Bay to encourage cross-fertilizations. A bit of footnote. I learned this from Steve Monahan. Those of you who've been around for long enough. Actually from AIA, a brilliant guy. So on the top, those are the schools that I went to. Okay, Washington U. Then met my wife in Hawaii. Went to UCLA. That was a lot of fun. Went all the way to UK, Warwick. Came back. Spent a little time at Hong Kong U. So I'm always learning because I think I'm so stupid. So I have to continue to learn. The last was an online degree from UPenn. That was kind of fun. But learning doesn't go deep enough until you teach it. So one of my mentors, Professor Gilbert Wong, says, Greg, if you really want to understand something, teach it. That's a good idea. So I taught it at Tsinghua University, and there was the first corporate governance course, and I thought they would lock me up afterwards. It's 30 years ago. But they left me alone, and that was kind of fun. Then Fudan, Hong Kong UST, Chinese U. So I'm teaching in the last 3 now, back and forth. Won't have time. How are we doing in time? Okay, we're good. And then the third row are some of the jobs that you spend full time and keep the family happy. So last job was with Aeon. They bought my company out. Then I said, okay, that's fine. This one here is you have to spend some time giving back to the NGOs. So this is the Institute of Management Consulting Institute at the UN, recognized by the UN. Tonghua Group, this is a fascinating organization. This is always Hong Kong, pretty much. The BPF, individuals there drafted the basic law, drafting the basic law, came together and created this think tank. These 3, this one I was there until they kicked me out. So Cyberport is an organization that's worth investing your time if you have the time. The last one is the little firms that I created on my own on the side, and eventually coming to OASA. Okay. Now this is a short list of my corporate mentors. Those who mentor me in my 50 years. So these are their names. These are the companies. These are the names. These are the companies. These are the names. These are the companies. And you find you have all different sorts of individuals up there. Many of them names you probably recognize, some you don't. But you can say they're all more senior than I am. But this is not the fun list. This is the fun list. These are my mentees. So by mentoring others, you learn, you become a better mentor. Now, these are the names. These are the associations they belong to. These are the names again. Association, name, association. So it takes a child to spot wonders, and that gives me wonder when I mentee them. And indirectly, it takes a village to raise a child, right? So these are the big village that made me who I am, part of it. So that's it. All right, any questions from the audience? We still have some questions coming in.
One more question just come in. Do you think there's less opportunities for the development of space economy/technology in Hong Kong, given we had led tech talent in this aspect? We have less tech talent in this aspect. Less opportunity based.
So the question is, because of lack of talents in technology, is it possible to grow Hong Kong? Okay.
Correct.
In space tech. I don't see why not. Because you have to see in a different world. Assuming we're actually leveraged on the Greater Bay. Talents these days don't have to come physically be in Hong Kong. They can be from Ukraine, programmers from Ukraine. They can be from Korea, right? Programming into Hong Kong. I think that the need of the strength is someone, an entrepreneur, will identify the market in Hong Kong and use the right technology to bring that in. Okay? So when we talk about space technology, let me give you 5 examples of space technology that is coming. Solar energy. Okay, what about solar energy? Solar energy on the ground, right? Sometimes cloud gets in the way, you don't get the energy. What if you put it up in sky? That's interesting. You beam it down using microwave. Is it possible? Well, it's going to be a huge megawatt satellite, right? Guess what? China, 3 months ago, already started the plan. There's a receiving station in Chongqing who's going to receive energy from this satellite. Second, technology. What about cloud? Why can't we put cloud in space? What's the advantage? Constant cooling. You cannot access it physically. What else? What do you think Starlink is? Okay, cloud is actually in the sky. That is already in the process of development. So it is not so much about the technology, it is about what you can do with the technology. And this is where Cyberport comes in. And I think we need to be more extended in the Greater Bay, understand the market more, then the technology will come. Okay, so any other questions before I'm done? Okay, all right, thank you.